welcome everyone. I'm going to let Brian get started.
Awesome. This is the last session. You made it, folks. After this session, I'll give you all the information that you need as we finish out the 25 summit. Boy, it's hard to believe that. This session is on video activities and building social study skills through digital interactions. That's the title of the session. Again, my name's Brian. I'm a learning designer here at TCI and former social studies teacher. Lucky to have Christy Sanders with me, also a former middle school social studies, and I think you taught high school too, Christy. So great to have everyone on board. If you've got questions, you're likely to have them. Throw them in the Q&A. That's what that's for. And then, of course, don't be shy about chatting and sharing your reactions, sharing your tips. A lot of you have been using video activities yourselves, so don't be shy about sharing your own tips in there. We all benefit when we share. Closed captioning, if you need it, there's a button for it on Zoom. So that's some of the housekeeping. Now, here's our icebreaker. And what I want you to do is I want you to kind of think back to when you were 12 years old. So I think for most of us, that would probably be sixth grade, right? So when you were 12, you wanted to be blank when you grew up. So think that thought, and I'll model it for you. When I was 12, I wanted to be a cartoonist when I grew up. That's what I wanted to be when I grew up, was to be a cartoonist. And I love drawing cartoons. Now, I ended up becoming a teacher. Mom and dad told me that there was no money in being a cartoonist, Christy. So I decided to become a teacher. That tells you all you need to know about my ability to teach economics right there. Is the poor choice that I made in financial literacy.
We've got a lot of people. I mean, I actually wanted to be a teacher, which is a little like funny to think that all the way back then I got to go grade papers, be like a teacher helper because it was middle school at that point in time, go to the elementary, and from there on I was like, I want to be a teacher. But we've got a lot of people in our chat who wanted to be teachers.
That's
You
awesome.
have
And
some
that's,
others. We've got a stay-at-home mom, a DJ,
yes,
fantastic,
I
a
love that.
professional athlete,
Yep.
marine animal trainer. Those are all awesome.
And a lawyer. I see all sorts of different kinds of professions in there. And there is a reason, there's a method to my madness here, why I asked that. And I'm going to show you this right here. I want you to look at all of these professions that are on here. Are any of them things that at one point, maybe not even when you were 12, maybe you're thinking, hey, this might be a career choice right now. Um, is there something on this list, this huge list, that you see that's interesting? I'm not asking you to put it in chat. I want you to look at the words, find something interesting. I want you to put your finger on one of them on your screen right now. I want you to reach out and I want you to touch one of those on there. Here's the reason I'm asking to do that is in our video activities, students going to be all of these, not just the one that you're pointing to. Our video activities from middle school to high school. And by the way, every elementary social studies lesson and every science lesson will end up having them at some point too. But our video activities give the students an opportunity to step into the shoes of lots of different vocations out there. My wife works with career and technical education. It's near and dear to my heart. And one of the things that we have really worked hard at doing in our classroom activities and in our video activities as we've developed them is to give the students a lot of opportunities to step in other shoes, other vocations that are out there. And they're not all college track, right? Some of them are vocational track um, uh, uh, opportunities that students could get certification for down the road. Well, our video activities have opportunities for lots of these in here. And that's why I wanted to ask you that question, because that's really kind of the power of not only these video activities, but the classroom activities, is being able to step in lots of different shoes out there. In this session, what I'm going to go through is how do these video activities kind of break the mold of using video and doing interactions with a computer and teaching content? How do we break the mold of doing that? We'll also get into the nuts and bolts. So when, where, how, why you might want to use a video activity over a classroom activity or in place of or in conjunction with a classroom activity. And then we'll also get through some coming attractions. I'll make sure that I pause frequently for questions that you might have or any kind of reactions that you want to share. And Christy, as I said to you before, feel free to interrupt me at any point. I'm a husband, I'm a dad, I'm used to being interrupted lots of times. So feel free to do so. We've been busy creating video activities. Just this year alone, we've probably released around 20 to 30 video activities for teachers in Geography Alive and in some of our other middle school programs and some of our high school programs. Very soon, sometime at some point this year, we will have rolled them out to every program and every lesson by the end of the year is our goal to have them there for all of our secondary programs. And as I said, we're going to have them in elementary too. So we're working hard to create video activities because you found them so valuable. And that's something that we love to hear. It's music to our ears. And it really does break the mold of how we see and use video. It's not a passive experience of students just watching a video and just sitting there and just taking it in, but not doing anything about it. They have a stake in it. There is something that pushes them, a storyline, a remarkable experience that we can provide for them. That's what breaks the mold. So in our civil rights lesson in middle school U.S. history, where they have an opportunity to look at some amazing primary sources, or in our Econ Alive program, where they're picking magazine covers as a magazine editor, or they're exploring UNESCO World Heritage sites. An 8-bit, I graduated in 1988, so I'm a child of the 80s. An 8-bit video game kind of look as they learn about the end of the Cold War era. And then also, can you mix pizza and the scientific revolution together? Yeah, we did it in a video activity. So we've got some really wild and some crazy storylines and really interesting and profound interactions with primary sources that we build into them. Now, if this is your first time using TCI, you're not really even quite sure what a video activity is, don't worry about it. We're going to do one together, at least a portion of it together. And the one I've selected is one that we recently released in our Geography Alive program on the national parks, saving a natural heritage of the U.S. and Canada. So what I'm going to do is we're going to step inside the role. I'm going to model a little bit. We're going to do some together. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but I want you to get an idea of what a video activity entails. So a video activity is used as a teacher and assignable to individual students, where they're going to have the access to the very same text and same content than if you did the classroom activity. But it's not going to be the classroom activity just in a digital format. It will be different from what they experience in the classroom activity. So you could actually do both. Students would have two different experiences, two different opportunities to be able to get the same content. We'll talk more about how teachers use it, but in this lesson here on the national parks, we want to do two things. They're going to learn how to read topographic maps, or topographic maps, if that's your preferred pronunciation. And they're also going to explore the flora and fauna of the national parks in several different places. So we begin a video activity with a hook, a video that gets them set and gets them into it. We call it a storyline video. I'm going to play this one in its entirety, and then we'll go to the first few interactions that are here. So let's take a listen in on Uncle Finn's Outdoor Adventure.
Your Uncle Finn runs a popular outdoor adventure
Worry Less,
I didn't mean to click that,
1995.
sorry.
and souvenir shop in Williams, Arizona. Williams is a short hour from the south rim of the Grand Canyon and a popular tourist destination for visitors of the national park and the famed Route 66. This summer, you've traveled here to work in the souvenir shop. You're really excited because you love visiting national parks and have never been to the Grand Canyon. Uncle Finn has promised to take you on one of his famous adventure tours at the end of the summer. A pack mule trip down to the Phantom Ranch and then rafting the Colorado River afterward. Uncle Finn's led quite a life. As a former park ranger, he knows so much about the national park system. And it shows too, from all the items that he sells in his store. While most of the souvenir items he has on sale are devoted to the Grand Canyon, his love for other parks is evident in his plan to sell postcards of other famous parks in the store. There'll be postcards devoted to Yosemite National Park, Waterton Glacier International Peace Park, and Prince Edward Island National Park. The postcards will show key geographic features of the park, including the various flora and fauna. These are fancy words that Uncle Finn throws around all the time. Flora is plant life in a region, while fauna is animal life in a region. Some postcards come from different elevation ranges in those national parks. Your task will be stocking the card rack according to Uncle Finn's directions, so customers can buy them. You're hoping that Uncle Finn will be here to assist. He should be back soon from leading a rafting tour of the Colorado. Uncle Finn says he's left you everything you need, including interactive images and maps of the parks. He also left a tutorial video on how to read topographic maps, which is sure to come in handy. Do your best to complete the work before Uncle Finn returns. Good luck!
All right, so we've got a little hook. We're working for our uncle at a national park store right outside of the Grand Canyon, and we're going to be stocking this postcard rack, and he's left some directions for us. We're also going to be learning how to read topographic maps. Evidently, that's going to come in handy as we do this. When we use a video, you'll see lots of labeling, especially when they're key content terms. So what are the two terms that you heard that were labeled in that video that we just watched? Throw that into chat. And I don't care if everybody ends up repeating the same words, but throw it into chat. What were the two terms that you saw labeled and thrown out there in that opening video? Yeah, that's right. Flora and fauna. Flora and fauna are the two key content terms that we called out there. The other thing that you can expect in the video activities are that the videos, especially if they're content focused, which later videos in this VA are, um, they tend to range somewhere between 1 and 3 minutes. 3.5 usually is the outlier in terms of how long they are. So they tend to be shorter. The videos themselves, especially when they are the content focused videos, and again, we'll see an example of one here in just a few moments, they bring to life the main ideas that are in the section of text. So as we transition from that opening storyline hook introduction, beyond that, we're now going to be invested into learning the content, being challenged to do something with it, and then progressing beyond that. So in this first step here, the students are going to learn how to read a topographic map. So one of the things that we did is we made a content-focused video, and there is a section of text associated with that. So if they click the read button here, they have the chapter introduction, they have the section 1 right here. They have the very same tools that they would if they were using the reading tool on its own. When they complete the tasks in the souvenir shop, there is some notebook prompts typically, like this one right here. So we're going to assume that you all now know what flora and fauna is and have some rudimentary understanding. We're going to pretend that we've read that section, and now we're going to do a little bit of sorting right here. Let's see if we can work this one out together. It's a little drag and drop exercise. Uncle Finn needs our help. He's got some discounted items left left the following directions to discount: the fauna to 35% off, flora 40% off, conservation is 20% off, and a topographic map 10% off. So I'm going to do the easy ones right here. I'm going to take that one off. I'm going to take the conservationist off. That one's pretty easy. Let's see if you paid attention to the video. Which one is 35% off? Which one is 40% off? So you tell me, is A 35% off, or is it 40% off? A currently they're saying is 35% off. That is correct. That is fauna, animals, and then plants are the 40% off. They can check their answers. When students answer questions that are closed-ended in a video activity, just like our lesson games, just like an assessment, if it's a closed-ended question, that would be matching, drag and drop like this, matching. If it's fill in the blank, if it's multiple choice, those are all auto scored. So you never have to worry about those. Very, very rarely do we ask open-ended questions in excess. Typically, they tend to be the end items. And those, like any other open-ended item, you would manually grade those when the students have turned it in. But in this case, you all completed the complete portion here. And then we're ready after they have done this, we're ready for them to practice using an interactive topographic map. But I just now realized I forgot to have us watch the content-focused video on watching a video on reading a topographic map. So I'll play just a portion of this.
Reading a topographic map might
Make
seem
it big.
tricky, but it's actually quite fun. These maps show the shape of the land, including mountains, valleys, and rivers. Here's how you can read them. First, look for the contour lines on the map. Let's highlight the line just to the left of the compass that says 410. This area inside the circle is all 410 above sea level.
Whoop, I didn't mean to. Sorry.
Points at the same height above sea level. They might be close together
Sorry,
on
Christy,
steep
I got
slopes,
click happy.
like over here on the left, or far apart
There we
on
go.
Me
flat
all the
areas.
time.
These numbers are called contour elevation.
I meant to hit pause. I got click happy there. So you can see that the video is going to do a step-by-step and walk them through exactly how to read a topographic map. And that's going to be helpful as they continue. They're also going to get a chance in this lesson to practice reading an interactive map. Now, this interactive map, we have a relationship with ArcGIS where we're using their maps inside TCI. And in this case, the students are going to be challenged to, hey, can you identify the elevation of the takeoff and landing for Uncle Finn's helicopter tour? Can you measure the distance in miles? Can you do an elevation profile? Let's click on some of the hot spots. Well, we're going to open the map. When students open up an interactive map, or if this were a drawing prompt, they get a nice big palette. In this case, the interactive map is in a nice big box right here. They also have the directions at a point of use. And then, of course, the interactive map right here is pretty cool because they can zoom in, they can zoom out, they can go all over this map. So how would we use this with our students? Well, one of the first things that they were asked to do was to identify the elevation of the takeoff and the landing spot for the helicopter tour. So I'll zoom in just a little bit so that you can see right there. But if we had watched that video as a student, now we get to see right here that roughly where Uncle Finn's takeoff and landing is right about 7,000 feet in elevation. Now, the second item was to measure the distance in miles to Hopi Point. So there's a little tool over here where I can do that. And I can click on, we're going to, whoops, sorry, add a measurement from Hopi, from the takeoff to Hopi Point. Double click right there, and it's about 1 mile from those two. 3 asked for them to do an elevation profile. That's another tool right here where we can actually click and say, all right, what's the change in elevation between these two places right here? And I forgot to double click there. I'll just do that real quick. And we can see there's a big change in elevation. So these interactive maps that we're starting to put in the video activities where appropriate are really incredible. But this is a kind of interaction that you can expect students to have, is always something that's going to be really interesting for them. Now, as the students progress in this lesson, they're going to learn about the 3 national parks of Waterton Glacier International Peace Park, Prince Edward Island, and then they're also going to learn about Yosemite. And they're going to get an opportunity to practice using a topographic map in each of those. They're also going to learn about the flora and fauna in each. And that's what each of these interactions kind of looks like here. So here, for example, on Waterton Glacier, they read the section, they then are ready to continue. There's going to be some sort of an interaction. This one's got an interactive image with pop-ups, with little clips that will even show them the flora and fauna, like bighorn sheep in this park right here. They'll have to answer text-based questions, and it'll really challenge them. Like in this case right here, there's a question where they're asked to identify the elevation of Bear Hat Mountain. We give them a map. It is a map where they can use to zoom in and be able to use the skills that they've practiced now several times repeatedly. Because remember, repetition is the mother of skill. They need to get in there. They have to do that several times to be able to demonstrate that they really get it. And then they continue to the next part. Each of them kind of have a unique interaction. This one has a 360-degree image with hotspots that they can click in and be able to get. I believe we did the same for Yosemite as well, where it's a really immersive 360-degree visual with built-in hotspots for El Capitan, and then also the sequoia trees that are down here in the valley. We can see Half Dome there in the background, but some really amazing interactions. Always, 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 where the students watch videos, they will always bring to life the main ideas from the section of the text, include some dynamic video clips, great voiceover, and really helpful labeling for key content terms. Those are the things that you can expect in a video activity. Even though the content will change, that same kind of design criteria is something that we do in all of them. And then at the end of a video activity, we're always going to kind of challenge them to do something with the information that they've learned. In this one, they're going to sort some postcards. That was what we initially set up in the storyline. So we give them some postcards here from the three parks that they studied, and they're supposed to sort them by elevation range. So there's a little drag and drop activity that you see that I've gone in here, and because this is an auto scored item, you can actually see which ones I got automatically correct right on the first attempt, or a second attempt correct, or if I missed it completely, what would that X be, that red X? That's what that indicates. So students see this, you see it on your teacher side inside your grades. So these video activities are things that you can assign to your students, and where to find them. That's what we're going to move to next. So I'll show you where. I'll share you all the nuts and bolts of the how and the why you might use this in different places. We'll also kind of elicit and challenge you to share some of your own thoughts on where you like to use video activities. But before I do that, I'm going to pause before I move away from this specific video activity to see, Christy, are there any questions that have come up that you want me to field before we move to the nuts and bolts?
No, because one of them, I mean, it's a nuts and bolts question, is just around like utilizing these in small groups and
Yep,
then the size of group. And then there are questions about just locking the video activity. So, but once you get to the nuts and bolts, I think both of those will be answered.
absolutely. Yep. So what I'm going to do then is let's go ahead. I'm going to close that out, and let's move on to those nuts and bolts kinds of items: the when, the where, the how, to be able to use video activities. Well, the first question that a lot of people might ask themselves is, all right, because this covers the same content that the classroom activity does and that is in the SE, student edition, when is the best time to use the video activity? So that's a question I'm going to throw to you. I've got some prepared responses, but for those of you who've used them, go ahead and in the chat, where have you used video activities? If you have. Now, if you haven't used it yet, just hold on, hold your fire for just a moment. But if you have used the video activities, when did you use them with your students? Was it, let's say, before doing a classroom activity, in place of doing a classroom activity, or after students have done a classroom activity? Which one? There's not a right or a wrong answer. And I'm going to open the chat so I can see some of those comments too. When there's a sub, yep, having sub plans is great. Before a classroom activity is what Rachel said. To introduce something new, Philip, great. in place of with struggling students. I love that, Jennifer. That's wonderful. Anyone else? All right, so depends on the video. Sometimes I like to use it as a preview. There we go. Love it. It's funny is when we started this project, and it's now been about 2.5, 3 years since our first video activity. When we started it, it was a direct result of COVID and the pandemic, because we would get feedback from teachers like you all the time would say, I love doing the tug of war lesson, or I love doing capture the flag, or I love playing the dot game with my students, high school students. But of course, they're, all remote right now. So how do we get around that? How do we do something interactive? We did not want it to be a passive experience. So when we created these, our whole intent was to create a interactive answer to a remote activity. What we discovered, though, and you all are starting to put it in there, is it could be used in so many different ways than just that. You've mentioned them. Pre-teach, use it as a preview. You can pre-teach the content. It is never, and this is really important for you to know, it is never a duplicate of the classroom activity. For example, in our middle school US history lesson on the Revolution, the students go out and play capture the flag. Our video activity is not capture the flag and the Revolution. That's not what it is. So it is always a different activity. You're never worry about duplication. But what it does duplicate is it does duplicate the same exact content. So same reading, same main ideas, same all of that, but different experience. So you could use it to pre-teach. Absolutely. Somebody put it in the comments, and I love it because it's absolutely true. I was an athletic director when I was a classroom teacher, and so at least once or twice a month, I was gone from the class for a full day. So every month, I know at least 1 or 2 days that I needed some subplans, and boy, do I wish I could go back in time and have these available as the subplan, because that makes it pretty simple to be able to do. Review and remediation. I know, I think it was Jennifer put in a comment that she loves to use it with her struggling students. And this is an excellent review and remediation tool to get students ready. It can be a really great formative assessment, in other words. You can also use them individually. Obviously, that's how it's kind of designed, is you assign it, and we'll go over that process in just a moment, as well as lock slides, because I saw somebody had a question about that. But you can assign these individually, obviously, but I know of a lot of teachers who like to do them in small groups. They'll even do a whole class together. So it really depends on what your goals are. As with any other thing that you do as a teacher, what are your instructional goals? And is this a tool? And some lessons it may not be. Some lessons it would not be appropriate to use a video activity, and it really depends on your situation. But we make them available for each is our goal. So let's get into some of the how-to of this. And for that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go right inside of our program live, and we'll do an overview of the video activities together. So I'm going to pick Geography Alive, since we were just right there, and I want to go to the same lesson so that I can show you exactly how I set all of that up. So in Geography Alive, which is a middle school and high school program, it is an amazing program that covers each region of the world with these really great case studies. And the one that we were looking at is this one right here on the national parks. When you go to your lesson overview page, and it doesn't matter what you teach, middle school or high school, social studies, when you go to your lesson overview page, under the flexible lesson options, that's where you're going to see if the lesson that you're teaching has a video activity available. Almost all of the middle school social studies programs now have a video activity. There are some that don't yet. They're not released, but they've been developed. Many of the high school lessons have them, but I would say there's probably more there, especially in the high school U.S. history program, that don't have them yet than what do. But don't worry, don't fret, they are coming. They'll have them there. But you'll see on your lesson overview page, if a video activity has them available, you'll see them right there. Um, Christy, I saw you raise your hand. Did you want to share something, or do you have a
No,
question?
it my hand just got raised for some.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay. You're just
Yeah,
waving at me.
I'm just saying hey.
Just saying, hey, I love that. That's all right. But your lesson overview will show you if it's got a video activity. And I know one of the questions that people had earlier is, are they assignable? Yep. You see the calendar right there. You assign them just like you do your classroom activity. When you click it, it automatically fills in this information. You just determine the who, the when, and if you want to add any kind of optional information. Are they customizable? Meaning, are they editable? Yes, they are. You can actually go in, you can edit these slideshows as well. And then if you do that, it creates a custom one-off for everyone that you create a one-off for, essentially. So you could do that too. When you use them as a teacher, modeling for your students like I was for you, especially because in the one that I did, if I move ahead to where, like right here, for example, I've got some answers in there already. Well, let's say I've got a second period that's getting ready to come in. One of the things that we've done with all of the slideshows and the video activities included is we now have this restart slideshow button down here in the lower right hand corner on the three dots. And when you click that and you hit restart, it'll wipe everything that you've done so far, so that when I go back to it and I click complete right here, you can see I've got a blank slate that I can start from fresh with my next class as they come in. So as a teacher, that's a very helpful tool to have. I also saw that somebody asked the question, um, can you lock the slides? Yes, you can. And so what I'm going to do first is I'm going to turn off my override of the slide conditions right here. I'm going to close this slideshow, and I want to point out to you anytime and anytime you see a video activity that has this little design on it right there, what that means is we have already set up for you conditional actions so that when the students do the video activity as assigned, the slides will be locked, preventing them from moving ahead until they've answered the questions. So what will happen is you can see right here when I get to slide 5, and we saw this same slide already, I can read, I can go in here and I can answer those questions. What I can't do is I can't get to the interactive map and I can't advance the slide until I have answered those questions. And that's because we've gone in and we've already set up those conditional actions. Now, again, as a teacher, I may not want to have those conditional actions on for me. I want them on for the students, but I don't want them on for me. So if you want to turn them off or override them, what you do is go to that same place in the lower right-hand corner. You just click override slide conditions. And when you restart the slideshow, then when you restart it or you open it up fresh, then you'll be able to move freely and not have that lock slide preventing you from moving ahead. So you can see them. Not every video activity has the conditional actions added to them. I would,
Brian, before
yeah,
you
yeah,
go on, there's just
yeah,
a couple, these are all like kind of technical questions. So can you, do you want to answer them now or do you want to hold off?
sure. No, let's,
Okay. So
let's,
this one's a technical question. And the question is, can I edit slides after it has already been assigned and students have begun?
ooh, that's a good question. Um,
It's my understanding that you would have to make a new assignment at this moment.
yeah, I think that is correct. I think you would have to reassign or go in and edit the assignment and reassign it to your students. It would not wipe out their data, by the way.
Right.
So you wouldn't have to worry about that. But yeah, if you go in and you edit a video activity or even a classroom activity after you've already assigned it, for the new actions to take place, you would have to reassign it to your students. Yeah. Especially if it's something different. Yes, you would.
And then the second one is, can you open your settings? And then the question is, can you restart classroom activity slideshow? So I kind of want to look at the settings first, maybe for this one to show where that, how you do that.
Yeah, when you go to your settings, you'll see under student features, allow multiple attempts. If you want your students to have the same ability to restart a video activity, just like they would a lesson game or a reading check, then what you do is you just make sure that that has a check mark in it. If you see one that doesn't, like restarting classroom activities, I don't have checked. So if I assign that to my students, they don't have that same ability to restart slideshow and have everything wiped. If I check it, they do. So just be wary of what that does is it turns that feature on. The key is if you change something here, if it had a check and you want to go unchecked, or it didn't have a check and you want it to be checked, just make sure before you stop, you click update, because none of that will take effect until you click update. The other thing to remember about that is that it doesn't impact a individual student. It impacts globally all of your students. So these settings right here on allowing multiple attempts, they're global. They are global features that are turned on or off.
All right. Thank you, Brian.
Yeah.
There, and you already talked about restarting classroom activity slideshow from a teacher point. So there's, well, we just keep getting more, but where do you go to put in slide conditions?
Where do you go to put in slide conditions? Great question. So let's go to one that does not have, I know does not have slide conditions already added to it, a video activity. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up, I don't know, I'll go to our US through industrialism program. I'm going to go to our very first unit in this program, and I'm going to go to the very first lesson, studying history through inquiry. This is a really fun video activity where students play the role of private inquirer, a PI. It's got some childish Brian humor that I built into this video activity. But let's say I wanted this to be one of those conditional action types things. So you can see here, I'm clicking through and there's nothing preventing me from moving ahead. So this one definitely does not have it, does not have those little indicators on there. So how do I do this? So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a copy of it. So I'm going to go up here and I'm going to type in this Mr. T. And it's going to create a copy of my video activity. It's going to open it up in edit mode as we see it just happen right now. I'm going to make this just a little bit bigger here so that you all can see this. So down in the lower left-hand corner, you'll see right here where it says slide conditions, it says 0 on this slide right here. Well, I don't have to worry about that because that slide doesn't have any questions, right? I want to go to the first slide or the first instance where there are going to be notebook prompts for the students to answer. In this case, they've got this over here that they've got to do. And there's currently no slide conditions. I'm going to click this button right here. Slide conditions. I'm going to click add slide condition. I get an if-then statement that I have to complete. If questions are all completed from selected slides, or if all questions completed on this slide, that's probably the one that I want to do, especially if I want to lock them throughout it. I'm going to go with that, but I've got to do the then side. What's the then part? Well, I want to unlock the access to the next slide. So I'm going to add that, click save, and now that slide condition has been added, but it's only been added right now to that one slide. Now, I don't want to go through there and manually do that on every one of these slides where there's notebook questions. That's kooky talk. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click copy right here. And when I click copy, I'm going to see that slides 5, 7, and 9 are also slides where there's notebook questions. Great. I'm just going to copy that conditional action to each of those. Great. And Bob's your uncle. So now those slide conditions have been added to this specific slide deck. If I go back to my lesson here And this is where I need to zoom out back to normal. And I go to my slideshows because you got to remember, we've created a custom slideshow. Here it is. And there's that little icon. And then if I click present, then when I get to that slide, if I haven't overridden slide conditions, and I think I did, remember? Yep, I got to restart that. There we go. It's locked right here. So I cannot get to slide 5 until I have answered the question here on slide 4. The second that I do that, now I can move ahead and I can get to slide 5 that way. Now, the steps that I just walked you through might be like, oh, Brian, I will never remember those steps. Don't worry about it. All you have to do is if you go inside your program, up here under professional development, and in the what's new for fall of 2025, in here, I actually take you through those steps on doing that. All you have to do is go into bucket 1. And when you go into bucket 1, lock slides are, I believe, E right here. Yep. So there's a video tutorial where I actually take you through those steps so you could watch and rewatch, do it over and over and over again until you've got a muscle memory. Now, just so that you know, as we start to roll out more video activities, where appropriate, especially where we think that they're most appropriate, we'll put them in for you. We didn't have this tool. We didn't have the ability to lock slides really until, I want to say, late winter. And so it's only been some of the most recent video activities, and really most of them are actually in Geography Alive. That was what we were working on at the time. So that's why so many of them will have it. But you may be in a program that doesn't, but it's not hard to add them at all. And then once they're there, and you can use them however you want.
That is brilliant. Thank you so much. And just like kudos to you because there's a lot of people who are talking about the PD courses, which Brian has developed. So that's fantastic.
Well,
Um,
like everything else, it's a chorus of people that are in there. It's just my ugly mug that happens to be on camera
oh,
sometimes.
Brian, you're
Yeah,
so humble.
yeah.
There's one more question, but actually it's less related to video activities and more to the classroom activity slideshow. So I'm going to have you finish up what you're doing, and if we have time, we can answer these two next questions.
Okay, perfect. So I showed you one way in which you could find if your lesson has a video activity. That one on the lesson overview page. There's actually another way in which you can do it is to open up your sidebar like I have here. And one of the things that everyone has available to them is what we call a video library. If you haven't checked out our video library, you definitely need to do that because every video that's inside your program, all of the videos will end up being cataloged right here, and you can filter in lots of different ways. So while I'm waiting for this to load up here, one of those filters that we will see once it populates is by video activity. But you'll have all of the source data. It's going to look like this right here in the background. You can see the filters over here. There'll be these little cards that appear, and you're used to seeing those cards if you've used our program now, especially on that lesson overview page where it shows those cards of whether it's a classroom or a video activity. Well, you just look at the cards right there. You'll be able to see whether it's a video activity or not. If it says video activity, it's always hyperlinked. You can click it at a point of use, and it'll actually open it up right there for you. You can even do these videos, use them in a one-off situation to just publish the video itself. And they don't have to do the full video activity. If you just want them to see a really great content video that we've put together, something like that, that's an excellent case for when you want to publish those for your students. Let me close these extra windows out and hopefully, yeah, there it is. So we can see it now. If I click on sort by video activity, we'll take all those videos that we've created. And by this point now, we have created thousands of videos for K-12 social studies because of the video activities. But we'll see all of them listed right there. And when you click on the hyperlink, it'll actually open the video activity up there for you that you can use with your students or with your class. Yeah. So there's that. And then a couple other things that I want to close out with. We've only got 5 minutes to go. Boy, time just absolutely flies. We're not stopping. We're going to keep working, even though the summit's going to end. We're going to keep working at TCI to put out more of these video activities. So they're kind of always under construction. We take our time, though. I'm not going to tell you that we just roll out 50 a month or something like that. We roll them out when they're ready and when we know what we have is good quality and going to be exciting for your students. So be looking. If you're U.S. history, but maybe the second half, you're going to be getting more of these this year. If you're teaching high school, economics, government, you're going to be getting more of these into fall and into the winter. And if by chance you straggled in here and you're an elementary science or social studies teacher, don't worry. We're going to have them too for those programs as well. So we're not stopping. We're going to continue to build video activities. So Christy, I think this is probably the time to throw in that question and other questions that may have happened before we close out our time.
Perfect. Thank you, Brian. So the question is, can students complete or turn in an activity without answering questions without the lock slide option selected?
So no, they can't turn it in until they actually complete a full video activity. What they see when they go through and they've done all of the questions, the last screen that they have, and this is the same on every video activity. It looks like this right here, and it'll have a turn in button. Now, even if there's no conditional actions applied, if they click turn in here, but have questions that they have not answered in it, they'll actually get a listing of those questions, including a little link that will take them right to it and say, nope, you didn't answer number 9. So it'll jump them right there to it. They can't turn it in, though, until they have answered all of the questions. So that is the key for you. Now, we'll also put on the screen for you in a teacher review only. All right, after I've used this video activity, what are maybe some other great suggestions? And so we'll give you some options, including lesson games or even a processing, or sometimes what we call show what you know, depending on what level it is, options that you can use with your students. But always look for that. They cannot move ahead. They cannot turn it in until they've answered all of those questions.
Awesome. And you, as a teacher, you would be able to see their work as they're continually working on it. So
Yep.
you're not blocked from seeing any of their answers, but it's just they can't officially turn it in. Okay, so this one is a question, and it's really actually related to just regular classroom activity slideshows. So the question was, does the restart button also remove the highlights I may have made in sections designated for reading? I encourage students to highlight because then I can see they've actually read the section, spent some time highlighting. I modeled this, but then I need to delete the highlights before the next class.
Wow. I don't think it removes the highlights because the highlights are technically a part of the reading tool, even
Mhm.
though it shows in the slideshow. But that's a good question. I think that I can't tell you 100% that. Uh,
No, but if you open up the reading, so we can show you just a quick way you can do it. So if Brian has that highlighted right there. If he unclicks the highlight button, he can either, well, if you click on it, it will trash it, or if you unclick the highlight button, it removes the highlight as well. So maybe you want to have students highlight the same section, you can turn that on and off. And that will then give you kind of some of those options that you have. All right. There's only one last thing, and this came up because somebody had asked about, is there a way for students to figure out their student account? And so we are going to have, when students sign in this year, there will be a scavenger hunt that they can review, that they can see. And then the question is, can the teachers preview the scavenger hunt? And I am going to have to tell you, I'm not 100% because you can sign in as a student into your account.
right.
But I don't think that that comes up when you sign in as a student. But maybe, Brian, I am wrong. I don't
Let's
know.
see.
So if you sign in as a student, because it will generate that thing. So, I mean, we might have to come back to you about that one.
Yeah. If you sign in as a student, it's there by default.
Yeah.
the first time. I should say elementary students, they have the scavenger hunt.
Hmm.
And I think middle school students do as well. I don't think, I can't remember if the high school students do or
Yeah.
not, but yeah, I was looking to see if that's there. That's a great question, though. And maybe that's something that we can put a video together or something like that. Really great question.
Yep.
Yeah.
Um, all right. Oh, Brian, how do you sign in as a student? This is our very last question.
How do
And
you sign in as a student?
yep.
Oh, that's super easy. So anywhere you see this key icon right there, and then we put it in lots of places, but anywhere you see that key icon, just click it, pick the student that you want to sign in. I'm going to sign in as Foghorn Leghorn right here. I'm going to go to my class. Here, you can see the scavenger hunt right there.
Oh, perfect. See?
There's the llama right there. I found him. And it'll take them step by step through it. But yeah, anywhere you see that key icon, that's what it is. Just look at this green ribbon here at the very top. That's always the indicator that you're logged in as a student. Just remember, if you're logged in as them, if you answer something, you're answering as them. So just be careful of what you're doing when you're logged in as a specific student. All right, I need to make sure I go over some closing information here for you, and then I'm happy to stay on for extra couple minutes if there's straggling questions. We want to make sure that we support you all along the way. That includes professional development, giving you updates. You've probably heard it 4 times now. Join our Facebook group. Join our Facebook group. It's a great way to stay connected with other users that are out there. Share with us on social media channels. Take our professional development courses. There's all kinds of opportunities to be able to do that. Anytime you do so, you always get a certificate at the end, and more on a certificate for this summit in just a moment here. But as we do so, and even before we do so, can you reflect on the video activity session that you just did here? How would you react or reflect on your time in this session? Did you love it? Like it? You
Lots of
don't even know
loves,
what to think
Brian.
about it. Your mind's blown. You're sweating already because it's July and it's hot and it's humid and the kids are coming next week or whatever. Or it's just left you very pensive. So what's your comments in there?
You got a lot of loves and a lot of happies, and then a handful of you have just blown a lot of people's minds, which is
Woohoo!
exactly our goal today.
That's right. That's right. So share your fun moment. Don't forget to do that. Use the hashtag TCI Summit 25. Do so. You get enrolled in that drawing. 3 lucky winners going to get a $100 gift card and a TCI llama for doing so. Now, here's the part that's really important. All of you want to be able to get this little gamification toolkit in there. It's got a playing deck, some die. There's something else in there. I can't remember what it is, but there's like a little gamification toolkit that we're going to send you. The only way you're going to get it, though, is if you complete the survey. So get out your mobile device. And Christy, I think, is also going to throw in the chat the link for the survey. Is that right, Christy?
Yeah,
Yep.
it's you just gotta give me one second
So
because
I'll keep talking while she's hunting for that survey. But if you've got a phone handy, you can scan it and start to take it. The other reason that you want to make sure that you do that is we're going to send you a certificate. And I can't remember how quickly we'll send it to you, but within days, you're going to get a certificate electronically for 3 hours for the summit today. So please make sure that you take the survey on the 2025 summit so that you can get that. And from me, from Christy, from Bert, from everybody else at TCI, a big thank you. And not just for attending the virtual summit, for being in education. Not everybody can do what you do. You don't hear that enough. You don't get the kind of appreciation that you deserve. But I want you to know we do. We appreciate you. We know how important, how valuable your voice and what you do is. And you're important to us and to our success because ultimately, your success and our success, it's the student's success. And that's what we want most. We know you love young people and want the best for them. So do we. That means we want the best for you. So thank you so much for attending the 2025 Virtual Summit. Make sure you take that survey. Christy's going to throw in the link inside there. If she hasn't already, and I see it up there, just look at the 304 mark and it's up there. With that, don't feel like you have to stay unless there's some additional questions that go beyond what we've already talked about. Other than that, thank you.